Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this month's Audio Production Town Hall. I'm Brian Smithers, the Program Director of Audio Production here at Full Sail, and we hope you'll join us month after month here with the Town Hall. We're here typically Monday of week 4 of whatever class you're in, and we talk about topics of general interest to audio nerds from the beginning of the program to the end of the program. We cover everything from mixing to drum miking to the business of dance music and new gear, and have different guests every month. So we hope you'll tune in and subscribe so you are notified when each month's broadcast is coming out. You can also find us at the YouTube channel and through the link on FS1 to see the recorded version of every broadcast. So this month, we're pleased to have a colleague and longtime friend of mine, Paul Harlan, with us. Paul is course director of. I just gave you a raise. That's beautiful. Paul is course director of Project and Portfolio 3 in the audio production program. We're very lucky to have him in that role. If you've worked with him, you know whereof I speak. If you haven't, you've got a treat in store for you. And Paul's been with Full Sail for quite a while now, but for much longer than that, Paul has been an recording artist and engineer with a track record of successful releases going back quite a ways. And this summer, Paul released his latest album called Summer Chill. We want to talk about that and his process and a lot of the steps involved in getting a record from conception to production and release along the way. So, Paul, thanks for being here. We're glad you could join us.
Brian, thank you for that wonderful introduction.
So let's start right off with Summer Chill. And the first thing I want to know is, Summer Chill is released in 2024, but in 2023, you released an album called Summer.
Yes.
So what's the relationship between those two albums?
That's a great question. So Summer was conceived of the idea of music to listen to in the summer when you're active, when you're out doing things, whether you're at the beach or you're in the car driving somewhere or thinking, and my albums are typically travel log albums. That's what I've been doing for the last 30 years. Is I usually travel somewhere, I come back and I write pieces about it or themes of the feelings I've had different places. So that's what Summer was, and it was released last year in November, and it had grooves, it had beats, and I enjoyed that. But then I started listening earlier this year. I started listening to a lot more music that wasn't quite as beat heavy, and a lot more music that there are various names for that, real chill out, but chill out has so many different connotations these days. So I started listening to music that had less drums, and I listened to the album, and I said, you know what? A lot of these songs will work without the drums. And I attempted a few of them, and I said, you know, they really work exactly as they are. Just remove the drums. And there was 9 pieces on Summer, and then so I found like maybe 4 of them that didn't have to do anything. Just literally remove the drums. The melodies and the keyboard stood up. Just remix it slightly. And then there was another 3 or 4 I had to completely remake. And completely redo from the scratch. And then I removed 2 that didn't work without drums. It was one called Paris that was beat driven, very much like sound like, you know, you were being out night at Paris, and it was really beat driven, and that didn't work. So then I found 2 more pieces, and one of them I'm going to show you today that I came up with. We got back from Sedona, Arizona a few months ago, and I wrote a new piece for this album specifically. So the answer to your question simply is, remove the drums, see what melodies stand up, and see what still works. And so I'm in a genre now that's more under almost focus, or dinner music, but it still sounds like European chill. It's not so much like, you know, so relaxing that it's going to put you to sleep like spa. Still has some things going on, but it's perfect for when you're eating dinner, when you're on the airplane, when you're just or late at night, when you're not watching TV and you put something on, you want something nice to set a nice ambience, but it's not going to put you to sleep.
That's cool. Thanks for sharing that. So without your music, I would never know what it's like to be in Paris at night. So thank you for that. But you bring up an interesting point there, the balance between starting your process with melody or starting your process with beat.
Yes.
Do you have a preference? Is it dependent on, the ideas that you're going for?
Sure.
What do you think about that?
So I've been teaching students here for many years, and I've seen them help them create their songs. And I notice most people these days create their music, they put on a beat they like, and then they find something that kind of works on top. And I encourage them and to do it, to look at it backwards. Okay, let's start with either melody first or vocal first or a hook first. Before you even put on a beat, before you even put it, literally, what is your concept? Who are you trying to reach, right? What is your goal? Who are you trying to reach? So for me, it starts at the piano. Like I play guitar, I play bass, I play a lot of percussion things, drum things, but it starts at the piano. So for me, I don't have anything. If it doesn't stand up at the piano, it's not worthy of releasing. If I can't sit down and play it on the piano as a piece of music, I put it aside and find something else. So that's my personal opinion. It has to stand up at the piano first. And if you look back at the great American songwriters from Cole Porter, Gershwin, or Elton John, or Billy Joel, all their songs are written that way. They're not written they don't put on a beat and then try to find a groove around it. No, they have either a melody in mind or a lyric in mind, and then they sit at the piano, or with the great guitar players, they do the same thing, whatever comes out. Yeah, so I think that answered your question?
It does, and I think it's interesting that a lot of the music that we know has been produced from the beat up. Still, it's not typically the beat that people go around humming to themselves. And in rare cases it is.
That is a great point. Yeah, you can't even copyright a beat. You can copyright a recording of a beat, but you can't somebody could take that beat, whatever the beat consists of these days, it's more than just drums, and they could literally recreate it. And as long as it doesn't have too much of the melody, and if it has all the same beat ingredient, it's completely free. So, and like you said, you're not walking around humming a beat very often. It's doesn't stay with it. So I'm going to go one more tangent off for one moment, is that I remember when I got signed to my first record deal back in 1992 and then released my first album on a label in 93, I said to the owner of the label, I said, I'm not writing this music for right now. He was releasing a lot of dance music, so he took a shot on me. I was a little bit different outside what he was normally releasing. And I said, I don't want this music to be right now. I want this music to stand up the test of time. And in fact, the song that he signed me under, called Cairo, is still being played throughout the world. I'm still being paid the most of a song I wrote 30 years ago because it has a little melodic hook and it has a beat that everybody likes. Oh, here we go, beat. But I've done it in many versions of that song without the beat and piano versions. And it had enough going on there, enough melodies and enough interesting things that I've been able to do so many remixes. But there again, my statement to him was, this is not necessarily for today. I see this living on, and here we are 30 years later, and it's still making me income.
That's great. That's cool. Yeah, it's tempting to chase the flavor of the month, but to do something that actually has some staying power that people will actually listen to in coming years is that's a real challenge of good songwriting.
I hate to pat myself on the back, but I think I was a little bit ahead of the curve because even though it was released in 93, it didn't get picked up to Buddha Bar until 99 or like late 98. So I was a little bit, they didn't even use the word chill back then. So it was like, then the Buddha Bar was like one of the biggest selling chill compilations. They've done like maybe 15 different series right now, but I was on volume 2. And so that was, that means that I had to wait for the idea of chill to catch up with what I was creating back in the early 90s. But
so you've brought an example for us, but before we get to that, I want to follow up on something that you said. You've mentioned the word chill a couple times, and you tried to define chill a little bit, which is always going to be a slippery thing. But one of the things that intrigues me in conversations we've had about your music previously is that while it always comes from the heart and reflects your musical conception, you actually have a target audience in mind. Dare we say the dirty word target market? Because this is not a hobby. We have lots of expensive toys that our habit requires of us. So actually making some money at doing this is no small part of what keeps us going forward. So can you explain to us a little bit about how you conceive of your target market and what you do to understand that market and then aim your work to fit that niche properly?